Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're enjoying a happy and safe July 4th weekend and are suitably celebrating the 250th birthday of our beloved country. Looking good, America. You don't look a day over 249. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about the way we feel about our country this morning in honor of this special occasion, helping us to talk about patriotism, how strong it's been, how strong or not it is these days, and where it may be heading, is our special guest. He's pollster David Paleologos, director of the Suffolk University Political Research Center, one of the nation's leading pollsters. And Dave, it's great to have you here. Happy July 4th.
It's great to be here. Happy 4th to you as well.
So it was fortuitous that I had this brilliant idea to have you come in and talk about patriotism, because you were about to go in the field in the Philadelphia area, a very patriotic area with a significant role in American history, of course, second only to Boston. And you have some results from that, which we're going to dive into in a moment. But when you experience all the excitement or all the talk about the 250th birthday, and then you look at the numbers, are you surprised by them?
Yeah, I was very surprised. You know, we polled this in late June. And during that period, Governor Shapiro, Mayor Parker in Philadelphia, they had all of these events, Liberty Bell and the Constitution Center and, you know, Independence Hall. And, you know, I felt that Philadelphians would be very excited about where the United States stood with all of these public events, not to mention Philadelphia hosting FIFA, you know, at the Philadelphia Stadium for, I don't know, 6 games or so. So I think going into the poll, I felt like you'd see a lot more high ratings for the country. But this is why we poll. The numbers are the numbers. All
right, let's dive into some of the numbers, and we've pulled out some of the more interesting results for you to take a look at as we discuss them. First of all, the core question: do you consider yourself a patriot? And the results here, by almost a 3-to-1 margin, yes, people do. Okay.
Great numbers for personal patriotism, how people feel about themselves, whether or not they're engaged. There wasn't a big partisan difference. So, you know, Democrats maybe a point or two lower, Republicans and independents higher. So that showed unity.
Yeah.
So personal patriotism, good sign.
That's unusual in today's political climate. Okay, then we started to get a little deeper in behind this initial result. And our next slide shows what the reaction was when people were asked to describe our country by comparison with other countries. 19% said we're the world's greatest country. 18% said we're one of the greatest, so 37% total. 16% said we're just an average country, and a combined 44% agreed with the statements that we've fallen behind other countries or we're one of the worst. That really stunned me, Dave.
That was a sobering finding. I mean, we asked this exact same question in a national poll in 2020 with USA Today. And instead of 37% saying greatest or one of the greatest, it was 60%. Here in Philadelphia, with all of the hoopla and all of the activities over the last 3 weeks, 37%. And so that tells us that the country has a ways to go, that we're not meeting the expectations of, we've got patriots, but they're not, these patriots aren't rating the country as one of the best.
One other result I want to show our viewers from your polling, and again, this is in the Philadelphia area. It's conducted for the Philadelphia Inquirer City View poll. Respondents were asked to listen to a couple of statements and tell them. These were people who said, yes, I'm a patriot.
That's right.
Which statement resonates with them? My country, right or wrong? 48% said, yeah, they agree with that. My patriotism depends on the country's direction. 44%. I'm not sure I've ever seen that question asked quite that specifically, but if you go back over history, it indicates clearly that margin would have been much bigger in the past.
It would have been, and thank you for volunteering that information. Here's where the rubber hits the road on that particular question. If you look at Democrats, they skew to depends on the direction. So Democratic patriots, a majority of them say, depends on the country's direction. Republican and independents, who are patriots, say, it's my country, right or wrong.
It's more unconditional.
Big gap. And that's why we see that, a so-called objective viewpoint of the United States is now filtered through political party affiliation.
So, Dave, what has happened? If you go back to 1998, polling showed 70% of respondents felt patriotism was very important. More recently, it's down to 38%. I know some people are going to say, well, Trump gets blamed for everything, but how much is a result of the Trump era?
It has a significant impact, and usually the country perseveres. So, I mean, I remember the 1970s, Vietnam, a daily slog. Our fellow young men were losing their lives. Watergate, Richard Nixon resigning, stagflation. I was a teenager. I remember the long lines at gas stations wrapping around a block into people's neighborhoods. That was a pretty bad time. Mm-hmm. But this is even worse in the sense that everything is now looked through those glasses, those political glasses. And it's, the more polarized we are as a society, the more challenging it's going to become. We have to be the United States of America, not the divided states. I mean, you and I both look at the maps on election night. What do we see? Do we see united or divided? It's mainland U.S., all red states, coasts are blue.
But partisan division, divided politics, that's been a trend that was happening pre-Trump, in all fairness.
It was, but there were more what we call persuadables back in the 1990s. There was a bigger group of people who can be swung one way or another for a particular election. Today, there's bigger groups of people on the left and on the right, and the extreme right is pulling the Republican Party in their primaries to the right, and the Democratic Socialists are trying to pull the mainstream Democratic candidates to the left. And that's a big vacuum that's left in the middle.
Just to put a period on this, I'm going to ask you to put on your analyst hat for a second. Is this the way it's going to be, even post-Trump? Is there an obvious way out? As you say, there's been ebb and flow of patriotism over the years, nothing like what we're going through now.
Yeah, so I would say the pendulum has always swung from calm to loud. We had Barack Obama, calm, methodical, Donald Trump, loud. Then we went back to Joe Biden, calm. Then we went back to Donald Trump, loud. I think the next swing, whether it's Democrat or Republican, is going to be somebody who's much more reserved, much calmer. I mean, the thing that troubles me is the amount of people who don't vote, John.
Right. In
the last presidential election, 87 million people who were eligible to vote didn't vote, either because they weren't registered to vote or they were registered and they just skipped voting. And Donald Trump got 77 million and Kamala Harris got 75 million. A 2 million margin, and 87 million people did not vote. That troubles me as we look ahead to the next 250 years.
Apathy is the big winner.
It's a huge winner. It was a bigger winner than Donald Trump's total vote count in 2024.
That is scary. Dave, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
David Paleologos, Suffolk University Political Research Center. That's it for me. Again, enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend.